Well, as Bishop Propaki helpfully explained, the value of engaging the lay persons in these processes. I think especially the bishops in the United States have done a really great job of highlighting that, um, not just to their fellow bishops in other dioceses, but to the Holy See and to the world, at what you can do when you break outside that kind of clerical wall and you tap those experts for these really complicated, difficult, and high stakes types of reports. Um, when you look at Vos Estis, the good thing is, what I like about it is that it doesn't require that the bishop only use clergy, for example. We have a history in canon law, which is changing kind of bit by bit, of requiring these canonical processes to be done either exclusively by clerics or by a majority of clerics. So you can kind of have a layperson involved, maybe as a concession, if you don't have enough clergy. It's clearly not saying that we want to invite the laity in because of the gifts and expertise that they have because they're lay. What we see in Vos Estis is that it doesn't go that far in affirming it, but it doesn't close the door. So it leaves it open. And then, like Bishop mentioned, the bishops of this United States have committed themselves to that lay involvement in a number of significant ways. The document, it's called the Directives for the Implementation of the Motu Proprio. It's on the USCCB website. If anyone who's not read that, I recommend that you read it. I think it's something it's not nearly as well known as the motu proprio itself, but it's really helpful for understanding its implementation in the United States. So in that document, the bishops committed to the appointment of what they call a qualified lay person, for every metropolitan and senior suffragan who might receive the reports instead of the metropolitan. And that person, it gives a number of duties for that person to carry out, um, just advising the bishop in every step of the way, and also significantly being a point of contact who can receive reports. So that's responsive to some of the feedback that has come, that someone who's been harmed by the church or is trying to accuse a bishop of something might not be comfortable approaching another bishop and making a report. So here's a lay person who has been designated who can receive those reports, and then advising the bishop along the way. That's built into what the bishops have committed to do. They also committed to implementing the uses of a lay investigator. So instead of, what if those of us who read the Mccarrick report were, at least I was haunted by those accounts of these, the report comes in and one bishop writes to another bishop, say, hey, what do you think? I don't know. It looks good to me. There was no investigation. There was no sending it to a lay investigator. There wasn't really an investigation. You can see it laid out clearly in those documents. What we see in this motu proprio and in the commitment of our U.S. bishops is that is not what will happen anymore. And if it does happen, there's a process to make a report about that and investigate that and follow up and hold that bishop accountable for that. So in terms of a practical step, how are the laity involved? Often the report itself comes from a lay person. It can be presented to a lay person. Again, with the U.S. bishops, that bishop will consult with at least one lay expert in making that initial assessment, because he has to assess whether it's manifestly unfounded or what he should do with it, where it should go, and he connects with those lay experts at that along the way. Just in my own experience as the canonist working for a metropolitan archbishop, my duties include making sure, are we implementing this motu proprio and the directives of the U.S. bishops? Are we doing that? Go through, have we done everything? How are we to do it? How are we publicizing this, making sure it's known? How are we educating our faithful and other faithful about what this requires? Giving training to our qualified layperson, making sure they understand, because the canonical stuff in here, there's a lot of terminology that, how do you, just making sure that person has that appropriate background. Training the investigator working with the investigator most of the time, helping him or her assess the proofs, helping the bishop assess the report. What is this? Is this something that even falls under Vos Estis? You can imagine that, okay, now we have a report to make complaints against bishops. It might attract complaints that are reports that don't fall under the things that are described in Article 1. So a bishop needs someone to look through that, give him your opinion. What should we do with this? Drafting up that report that goes to the nuncio, that goes to Rome. What is this? What is our assessment of it? The bishop can and should involve lay experts all along the way, along these steps. Also, the offering of the pastoral care to the one who's been harmed. The U.S. bishops committed to having the qualified lay person be involved in that, which is, again, important if sometimes that person might want to hear from the bishop himself or another priest, but sometimes that's the last thing that they would want. So they recognize the importance of having that lay person available and might be the right person to communicate with the person who's been harmed and making the report. So it's just, it opens the door for that lay involvement throughout the entire process. And our bishops have been really great about that. Just based on my conversations with my counterparts in other dioceses, their experience has been the same. So that's something that is going well, and it's a step forward, I think, and I think we can just expect to see more affirmations of that type of value in having those lay experts involved as we see further developments in the law.